All right, super excited to have Denise with us today. And Before we were talking, Denise, before we recorded, you were giving me some insights onto to really the way you view your practice and how you bring people into the practice, the culture that you implement, and certainly culture within the practice is key and paramount. And you've got a really unique take on it. But before we dive into that, I would love to know a little bit more about you, where you practice, what your role is, how long you've been there.
Okay.
Tell us.
Okay. So I have been in February will be 17 years. We're in upstate New York, kind of between Syracuse and Albany. My role as practice manager, I feel, is to bring in as much revenue as I can. That's what my job is, whatever that looks like, whatever that is, just making sure we're all on the same page, everybody's on the same page, we all have the same goal, and just kind of take it from there.
Awesome. And I love that. I want to hit the revenue piece at the end, because usually we don't hear that. Sales and revenue sometimes is a bad word in independent practices. We want to take care of people, and we certainly do a good job of that. But you looking at your role as bringing in the most revenue, I want to hit on that too at the end. But you also said you want everybody on the same page, and when we were talking, you said that you look at the practice as your baby.
I do,
and and you were telling me how you institute that idea and that culture across the board, and I thought it was genius. You want to tell us how you do that? What's your philosophy? Where that came from, and
Sure.
how it works?
So I look at the practice as my baby. So that's what I call her, I'll say. So with me trying to bring in as much revenue into the practice as I can, all the staff has different roles in being able to do that. So when you look at the practice as a baby, it needs to be fed, and that means revenue. So that means collecting co-pays, billing and coding correctly, making sure that, we have everything that we feel would be the best wow customer service, so that we continue to have patients come back and that they refer family and friends to us because of our great customer service. So that all incorporates revenue. So we feed the baby. We make sure the baby has a lot of play dates. That means that our book is full, and we can have our baby be, happy and social. And in order to do that, we need to have people coming into the practice and having their exams. And we just, I think that just having it, like giving that a little twist like that, it kind of makes it a little more real for all of the staff, and we're all on the same page with taking care of our baby.
I love it. Do you use these terms with your staff during the day and in office meetings, talking about the baby?
Yes, and I have leads for each department, and I actually gave each lead a baby doll, like a little miniature baby doll that is in each department, and so they can reference her when they're doing their jobs every day. Everybody in that department, whether it's the front desk, the opticians, the lab, the technicians, the billers, everybody has a baby. So everybody can look at that baby and remind them what we need to do to take care of that baby.
Oh, I love that. And what I love about it too is I'm thinking of my own children. They're older now, but when they were babies, there was an emotional and a factual, if you will, interaction with them. Right? Have they eaten? How many hours did they sleep?
Yes.
But the love they got too, right? Are they happy?
Correct.
And there are certain things that were easy to quantify, and certain ones that were a little bit harder and a little bit more emotional. And I think our practices are similar.
Yes, part of my job is to take care of the staff and making sure that they have everything they need to do the best job that they can, whether that's education, equipment, pat on the wrist saying thank you so much for going above and beyond, and I have to also take care of the practice. So our job as a whole as staff members is to make sure that the doctors have everything that they need to be able to see their patients, and they don't have to work for it. So the books are filled, the exam rooms are cleaned, the patients are all screened, everything is ready for the doctor to go in and be able to do his or her job. So our job is to take care of the doctors and make sure that they have everything they need.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and in turn, it's the doctor's job to take care of their role and tee up what each individual in the practice needs.
Correct.
You can't, right? The optical needs the doctor to do their job. There's an efficiency. I know sometimes I might talk a little bit long and not contribute my part. So in this whole baby analogy, it certainly takes a village, right, to raise a baby, and it takes a village in the practice. What I love too about this is it's putting the focus, I think, differently than where sometimes we hear the focus. A lot of times when we're talking with colleagues, the focus is either on the patient or on the practice or on the doctor owner, but you're putting the focus wholly on the practice, right? And all of those other components or pieces of that.
And I want everybody to feel like they are a part of taking care of that baby, because in turn, by taking care of that baby, it takes care of them. They have a job because that baby is being taken care of. So it gives a little more, it gives a spin on it, so that it's not that I'm always talking about money, talking about numbers, talking about goals, talking about, we have all those things, but I don't focus on those words, I guess. It's all about just taking care of that baby. That's our precious, precious gift. It gives us it gives us a job. It gives us a way of life. It gives us the ability to be able to take care of our families, to feed our families. So if we're feeding that baby, then we can feed ourselves.
Oh, awesome. Well, and that baby feeds the patients, right? That baby can take care of the patients, because we can't provide good quality care if our house isn't in order, if that baby's not healthy.
Right. And that baby its job is to take care of the community, to give everybody that walks through the door the best, the optimal vision that they can have. Because, that's a pretty neat gift that we are able to give people, is the gift of sight. So for us to be able to do that, we all have to be on the same page. We all have to, have that great customer service. There's, I kid around to my practice, and everybody's job is that wow customer service, because that's where it's at, and that's where you're going to get everything you need to feed that baby. My job is the money. So you guys can be all great and do everything you need to do, but my job is the money. So I want to make sure the money's always coming in to that practice, whether I am researching new avenues, which I am doing constantly. It's September, but I'm already in next year. I'm already planning for next year, because I have my year all planned out of what we're going to do and everything else, So I'm looking towards next year and what our goals are going to be for next year. And I just think that I just want to make sure that baby is happy and healthy going into the new year.
Yep. Oh, I love it. I'm sticking with that baby analogy. I know that when we had ours, my wife was very, very structured on when baby's bedtime is and when the doctor's appointments are, and certainly we want everybody to be able to interact, but having that system and thinking ahead in the planning So having a baby is not just it's not just fun, right? There's diapers
No.
to change. There's feedings and throw up to clean up, and
Yeah.
everybody's got to walk around quiet sometimes when the baby's sleeping, so
Hmm.
that we're fully taken care of. So I love that you're planning out a whole year. That's impressive on what that baby's schedule is going to be, what that baby needs, so that you're prepared to give it to her.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And I mean,
So,
the doctors also, especially my owner doc, knows this analogy. I mean, everybody knows about it because I'm not very quiet about it. And when I talk about, our schedule, it's like, hey, we need some more play dates for this baby, because this isn't gonna be enough to feed her, you know, and it's really amazing because when people think like that, it just doesn't seem so, you know, cut and dry and money wise. Like we're putting an emotional attachment on,
yeah.
or I'm trying to put an emotional attachment onto the practice to have loyal employees. And it works.
Oh, I absolutely love it. I'm reminded of Disneyland calls their customers guests and their employees cast members,
Hmm.
and it's they've invoked that culture, and you've invoked a very similar culture, right? Where it's you're bringing in the emotional aspect. It's hard not to smile thinking about babies.
Hmm.
I'm sure there's one or two that may not or make it a little bit trepidatious thinking about having to hold a
Yeah, we
tiny
don't
little
want any.
infant and care for them,
Yeah,
but right.
we don't want any colicky babies. We don't have a
No,
colicky baby, so our baby is
no.
pretty good. She has definitely done her job, so that allows us to do ours too.
Oh, no, I love it. I think the analogy is genius. And we talk a lot about, especially in the business optometry courses that we get to present through the Vision Source groups. Um, we talk about having structure, having good culture, but having systems as well.
Hmm.
And what I love about what you've done with your baby is you've put a face to the systems. You've put a face to the culture. So it's not just a sterile business environment, right?
Correct.
It's a family
Hmm.
environment, and we talk. I'm sure you talk about your practice as a family. I know I talk about ours
Yes,
as being a family
absolutely.
network.
Hmm.
Um, and having that baby, because really that's the practice gives, but it needs to be nourished to give. It can't do all that on its own. It can't get
No,
its own appointments. It can't get
right.
right. It has to have you taking care of it.
Yes. And so if you
So
give it
I
an
absolutely
entity,
love that.
hmm so I've given it
Hmm.
an entity,
Have you?
you know,
Yes.
so that it makes
Yep.
it brings it more personal, and it gives it, you know, it gives it the love that it needs. So,
Ah, and I think that's something sometimes we forget to talk about in our business, right? It's that love aspect,
hmm
which really separates independent practice from a corporate owned or a private equity owned entity. Not to say that those groups can't provide good quality care, but that love aspect is missing because there's no baby.
right, right. And that, you know, um, goes out into the community. I mean, it shows with my staff are great. They are very caring and loving and really want to do what they need to do to get that patient to see the best way they can, or to talk to them if they're first diagnosed with a medical, glaucoma or diabetic retinopathy or macular degeneration, so that we also go out in the community with these things so that people know that we're here and that we care for our community, and we care, for our staff. We have a really good commitment from people. The loyalty, I guess you
Well,
would say.
the culture builds the loyalty,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And when they see that you're taking care of something, it's easy to connect with. I think of the family that moved in next door,
Yeah.
with a young baby. We love them, but the fact that they moved in with a young baby, just it made them, us even more endeared to them, seeing
Hmm.
how they were as parents and
Hmm.
and seeing that unit. And and how they were as a family. I'm sure if they moved in next door without the baby, they would be just as great. But I think having that focus really just helped us and endear them to more. And certainly it's the culture you've built within your practice.
Yes. And, I do have to give props to Vision Source Learning because, it is when people are purchasing glasses, it is an emotional purchase. It's not just so they can see. They want to look good. They want to feel good. They, so purchasing glasses is an emotional, purchase. And so it all goes, I do a lot with Vision Source Learning because they have some great intuitive things that I can present to my staff and for them to take the courses also.
Yeah, those online courses are huge. We do the same. And if for those not in Vision Source, ECP University and Leonardo, there's lots of good platforms out. Being part of Vision Source, we get access to the Vision Source learning aspects, but it's learning how to better take care of your baby.
Yeah.
It's educating yourself. It's those parenting classes.
Yes.
The classes I sent my older siblings to when they, my older children too, rather, when they were getting ready for their baby sister to come, so that we're all better prepared and we're all better engaged. So, awesome. I love it. Well, Denise, thanks for very much for sharing this. At some point I want to see pictures of those babies up in the practice. And I will.
You
have to send those to me.
Yes, I will.
Awesome.